We are currently a month away from the 2025 Pokemon World Championships, and with that, our time in Scarlet and Violet might be coming to a close as well, as Pokemon Champions looks to be on the horizon and could shape the future of competitive Pokemon. What's up, guys? I'm Bruneaux, and since Gen 9, I have attended 21 major events between regionals and internationals. I've also brought a bunch of cool and wacky teams to these events, and I thought it might be time to take a little stroll down memory lane to talk about these teams and Pokemon that I have brought to major events in Gen 9. So, let's take a look. First up is 2023. So this right here is the first team that I took to the 2023 San Diego Regionals. That was in January of 2023, the very first event in Scarlet and Violet. If you know me well enough, you know that this isn't really my style of team, but at the same time, I was doing a lot of discovery. I only went to 2 events in Sword and Shield, and I wanted to take something cool and just try stuff out. We didn't know what the meta was. It was like I said, it's the very first event. So this team was made by my good friend Eduardo Cunha, who was the defending, at the time, 2022 World Champion. I believe he won, if I remember correctly, I'm going back 2 years, but I believe he won a event. It was a European like invitational kind of thing with a bunch of big name European players just for fun, like early meta stuff. And this was the team he brought to it, which was Terra Flying Go, which was really cool, with leftovers. Then you also had the Azumarill. Let's just do this. Let's look at their pictures. I like it because he's shiny. We got the Azumarill. We had a Murkrow. We had a Garchomp, which I believe that's shiny as well. Yeah, that is shiny. You just can't tell because it's a bad shiny. We had the Hydreigon, and we also had a Rotom Heat. So, a couple things about this team. I'm going to try my best to remember specifics about it. Like I said, I also didn't make this team, so I don't remember too much. But the Golden Go, with it being Terra Flying, it was leftovers. It was really bulky, right? We had 148 special defense, 236 HP. This is very much one of those, in the early meta, we knew that like Murkrow with Haze and Golden Go was really good. So you pair that up with Garchomp, which also had the Hobbenberry, which if you don't know what that does, that halves your damage taken by dragon type attacks. Then so like you have the Murkrow doing Tailwind stuff. You can just Earthquake next to it. You also have the Golden Go. You can Earthquake next to if you're Terra Flying. And you just haze away your Make It Rain your special attack drops and all that stuff. There was also the Assault Vest Azumarill, which was really interesting. Aqua Jet, Play Rough, Liquidation, and Ice Spinner. Then we have a Life Orb, Hydreigon, pretty stock Dark Pulse, Draco Meteor, Flash Cannon. Super offensive. You just need some damage. And then one thing I do remember from this, the Rotom Heat was Citrus Berry with Will-O-Wisp. And I remember Mousehold Population Bomb being a big thing at the time. And this Rotom Heat, this is like, I'm trying to give you guys all the specifics I remember. This Rotom Heat was EV'd to live a Technician boosted Population Bomb. I think it's also normal boosted too. Like Terra Normal, Wide Lens, Technician, 10-hit Population Bomb. You're able to live it with this Rotom Heat. So this is all the kind of stuff I remember. Unfortunately, with that event, I did go 4 and 6. I had a rough day, but like I said, it was the very first event of the thing. Nobody had any idea what they were doing. It was my 3rd event ever, so it was all right. San Diego is a really super awesome place. I wish we would go back there in the future. I really dug it, but man, that was quite the way to begin Scarlet and Violet. We can go ahead and start the list with Pokemon that I have brought to one event. The next event I went to was the Orlando Regionals, and this was a month later, almost to the day, in February of 2023. I wound up going 5 and 5, which was honestly was a big confidence boost for me to go 500 on the day. I think I got out to like a 3-0 start, if I remember. I had a good beginning to the day, and then things got a little wonky. But here's the team I brought to it, and this team was heavily inspired by Alex Soto's team from, what was it, Liverpool, I believe? Right? That was the second event in Reg A, Series 1, whatever it was. And it was a hard Trick Room team, which centered around Indeedee, Armarouge, because Armarouge got Expanding Force, Hatterene did not, so this Hatterene actually is Psychic Dazzling Gleam with Life Orb. And then the final Gambit Annihilate. We have the Iron Hands, because and this Iron Hands was special. It was a Belly Drum set, because I have Indeedee. I could click Follow Me, get off a Belly Drum, and then just Drain Punch and just do a lot of damage, especially with Citrus Berry and Terra Grass. Really super cool. And then I have a Mudsdale, because I found out in testing Iron Hands was kind of annoying, and Mudsdale is really good, right? You have Inner Focus, so you don't get intimidated. High Horsepower does a buttload of damage. It was also Lumberry. I forgot why. I don't remember, like Will-O-Wisp was the thing that was going around at the time. I don't remember why it was Lumberry. I guess Amoonguss was the problem. Also, this one probably wasn't optimal because I used a decent speed Mudsdale. Because I wanted to use the shiny. If you don't know, Mudsdale is one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. Couple little things about this team. Let me see if I can remember them. So one big thing was that it was Weakness Policy Armarouge. And that was because Snarl was everywhere at the time. So it's like, cool, you snarled me, but like I got my Weakness Policy off. And now you're going to really, really hate the Expanding Force Armor Cannon. It also had Dark Pulse too for good coverage. Also, the fact Indeedee now had Trick Room was also kind of busted. There's really not much to it other than that, other than the Iron Hands being a Citrus Berry Drain Punch set. I thought that was super cool and original at the time. Not that great. I do remember there was one match where I missed a High Horsepower on my Mudsdale that would have won me the game. That sticks with me. Way too much, honestly. Yeah, that's really all over. It's just it was a basic Series 2 Hard Trick Room team. Trying my best to make it work in this economy. This was kind of the beginning of me just falling in. Remembering how much I loved Hard Trick Room from Sword and Shield, and as you'll see, there's a trend where I always come back to it. Really, in this video, so we'll go ahead and add them onto the pile of Pokemon I brought to one event. The next event we had was the Knoxville Regionals, and that was 2 weeks later. 3 weeks later, or the 24th. Yeah, it was 21 days later from Orlando, and I decided to stray away and try something completely different. This time, my team was a little bit toxic. This is honestly, it's probably my least favorite team maybe that I've ever brought. And I'll explain why in a minute. But I tried to get a little cute. I know, if I remember correctly at the time, Alex Underhill did really well in an event, or like on ladder, or like some grassroots thing, and it was with this Iron Moth. The idea was Iron Moth, Fluttermane with Dondozo. And I thought that was cool, right? Because you have a really fast Acid Spray and Iron Moth with Booster Iron Moth, and then Choice Specs Fluttermane just does a bunch of damage. So my whole idea was like, what if I just did a whole bunch of damage, and then just brought in the Dondozo at the end to be annoying? So this was the Iron Moth, the Fluttermane, Dondozo, the Tatsugiri, which the Tatsugiri form didn't matter because the Dondozo didn't have Order Up. So I decided it would be funny if we just went with the shiny white Tatsugiri, which was the droopy form. And then we have a Dragonite, and then we have a Mousehold. So a couple things about this team that I remember. So the Dondozo set and the Tatsugiri set, I believe, was the exact set that Ashton brought to Orlando. I just ripped his stuff and just brought it because I had his team. I helped him with Orlando, and I believe I just brought the same stuff, the same spreads and all that stuff. So like I said, the idea was that Iron Moth and Fluttermane are a pair. You just Acid Spray things, and then you just Choice Specs Dazzling Gleam, whatever. You just do a bunch of damage with those two. The other idea, which I don't think I ever actually pulled off, was Mousehold and Dragonite, which is the same kind of idea. You click Super Fang and like Outrage, and you just like have things and KO things, right? And you just kind of be annoying. Mousehold just stays there for a while. Does a lot of support for Dragonite because it is a Friend Guard Mousehold with Terra Ghost. So you just try to take out like one or two guys, and then you just end game with Dondozo Tatsugiri. Didn't work out that well. The thing that I remember the most, I went 4 and 5, right? Not great. A little bit of a downslide, but the thing I remember the most of in that event was, I believe it was round 7. I got into a Don Dozo mirror. It was the first time, and game 1, I took them to time and won. Game 2, we went to time and they won. And then game 3, I think I just led the Flutter Moth, and I just went bananas, and it was over in like 3 turns. But it sticks with me and traumatizes me to this day, and is the reason that I will never play Don Dozo at another event as long as I live. I hope. But with that, we'll throw them onto the pile. Honestly, what's really cool is now that we throw them onto the pile, you'll see that I've been to 3 events and I have 18 unique Pokemon. I have not duplicated a single Pokemon in my first 3 events. However, that's about to change. The next regional for me was the Charlotte Regionals. That was exactly a month later from Knoxville. I wound up going 5-4, and as you can see, guess what? I returned to Hard Trick Room. I got an Indeedee. I got an Armarouge. Now comes out the Torkoal for once, which is one of the best Trick Room mons ever. I don't know why I didn't bring it to Orlando, but so be it. The Hatterene, the appearance of King Gambit, and the reappearance of Choice Scarf Final Gambit Annihilate. So, a couple different things with this team. I believe it's like the same kind of Indeedee kind of spread. I did go Twisted Spoon on the Armarouge. Not really sure why. I mean, it usually wants Life Orb, and I didn't want to go Weakness Policy again, so like I had to have the Life Orb on the Hatterene. It was a Terra Water Hatterene. Charcoal, Torkoal, Flamethrower Eruption, Earth Power, Clear Smog, pretty standard. The King Gambit was, if I remember correctly, King Gambit was kind of the star here. It was Terra Flying King Gambit because this team already had like a lot of ground weeks between the Armarouge and the Torkoal, and Terra Flying King Gambit was just good at the time. There's not really much to it. It's pretty bog standard for a Hard Trick Room team at the time. I don't remember what the spreads for Hatterene and Armarouge were. I think this was about the time I started talking to Alex Soto and started working with him a little bit, and this was kind of the stuff we started coming up with. And with that, Indeedee, Armarouge, Hatterene, Annihilate move up to 2 events, with Torkoal and King Gambit making their first appearance. The next event was Milwaukee, which was 3 months later in June. It was the last event before NAIC, if I remember correctly. Definitely the last North American event. And at the time, it was Reg C, and Palance was rounding around, and my buddy David Kutesh came up with a really cool archetype, which was the Earthworm archetype. If you know me, you know that I love this little worm. He is one of my favorite Pokemon. He's such a goofy little dude, and this team was super cool. And unfortunately, I had my worst event to date, basically. I went 2-4 drop, but here's the team. It was the Earthworm, the Tinglu, the Dragonite, the Gyarados. And I also thought it'd be funny if I went with the Gyarados shiny and the Earthworm shiny, because they're both like big long dudes, but they're opposites. So like it's a red worm who's now blue, and he's a big blue guy who's now red. Thought it would be funny. I had a Fluttermane, and then I also had a Chi-Yu. So at the time, the only thing I really remember from this event, other than I just wasn't, I was struggling for a while in this format, and Don Dozo was a huge problem, and I faced like 2 or 3 of, I think I faced 2 of them in my first 4 rounds. Like I think round 3 and 4, I had back-to-back players with Don Dozo, and my whole answer to Don Dozo was Terra Grass, Terra Blast Chi-Yu. Turns out that's not a good answer, and I got bodied. And the whole time I saw my buddy Tom Hayden, and he and I were kind of joking around about like, yeah, man, we're not really having it today. If we go drop, we're like, I'm gonna go drop and go see Spider-Man, because Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse came out like that weekend. It came out like the day before, and we were joking about it like twice in passing. That was kind of my thing the whole week, or the whole weekend. And then I sat next to him round 6, and we both kind of said to our opponents, like, yeah, man, if I lose this, I'm probably going to go drop and see Spider-Man. And then we both lost. And then we looked at each other afterwards, like, we're going to go see Spider-Man? We're like, yeah, we're going to go see Spider-Man. So that's kind of how that happened. We both dropped and we went to go see Spider-Man. Also, fantastic movie. But with that, you can see that Dragon Knight and Fluttermane both move up to 2. And Orthworm, Tinglu, Gyarados, and Chi-Yu make their first appearance on the 1s. The next and last event of 2023 was NAIC, the North American International Championships. This was my second international championship of all time, and I wound up going 5-4, which felt really good at the time. It was a positive performance at the biggest stage. And here's the team I used. As you can see, I returned to Hard Trick Room, which I love, as you know me. Indeedee, Hatterene, Torkoal, Kingambit, Oranguru makes an appearance, and the kind of the weird one was the Hariyama. Now let me explain this team a little bit, because I can go into detail about this one a good bit. There are a couple different things that were baked into this team that made it really interesting. First one I think is the Oranguru. The Oranguru, we went Terra Poison Citrus because through testing I found out that Chi-Yu Fluttermane lead was just horrible for me. Like, they can just kind of like Heat Wave Overheat and like Dazzling Gleam Moonblast, and I just kind of got to eat it in the face. So anytime I saw Chi-Yu Fluttermane, I always led Hariyama and the Oranguru. And Terra Poison was suggested by my friend James Beck on the Oranguru, and it was so clutch because I always Terra Poison the Oranguru, and with my Max Spadef on the Oranguru, I live that double up no matter what, barring crits obviously, from Chi-Yu Fluttermane, and I get off the Trick Room for free. The next interesting thing I think about this team is the Hariyama. Hariyama was not common at the time, but I needed a way to deal with Tinglu. Tinglu was such a pain in the butt for Hard Trick Room kind of size spammy teams. Fun fact, close combat from Hariyama, if you get the Guts boost and you're not intimidated, you can just Oko a Tinglu. Also, I believe I found this from a Japanese team of the same kind of thing, so I kind of stole this idea from them, which was Terra Rock Hariyama with Rock Slide. And I know that seems weird, but oftentimes if I went with the Hariyama Oranguru route instead of the Fluttermane, or instead of the Indeedee Hatterene route, if I went Hariyama Oranguru lead, I would often fake out and Trick Room, and then turn 2, either I'd pop Terra on Rock Slide, or I would just click Rock Slide and instruct Rock Slide. And I got so many flinches, right? Because you're hitting two different opponents with Rock Slide, obviously if both connect, and then each one has the chance to flinch, right? What is that? 30% chance to flinch each? Yeah. So you have 30% chances to flinch each your opponent. So you get so many random, random flinches. And here's another interesting thing I built into this team on purpose, is you'll see that the fastest thing on the team is the Indeedee, and then goes the Oranguru. But then goes the Kingambit, which is a little weird. So this Kingambit is a 2 IV speed Kingambit. That way I can even put him next to Hariyama and Rock Slide and Assurance with Kingambit. That was kind of the sick thing about this team, was that like, if you let me get a Swords Dance off, it's horrible for you. It's game over. But Assurance Kingambit was so sick for just double ups, because like nothing really wants, like you have Hatterene and Torkoal in next to each other and you can just like Dazzling Gleam Eruption or whatever. But then you also have Kingambit where you can just click Eruption Assurance. Another funny thing you get to pull off with Oranguru is you click Assurance, instruct Assurance, and the second Assurance does more damage because it's Assurance. I've said Assurance a lot, but like it was just a really cool facet of this team. And probably my favorite and most like endearing part about this team and what makes it special to me is the fact that in Milwaukee, after we saw, or either on our way to Spider-Man or on our way back from Spider-Man, Tommy and I were talking in the Uber, and we're talking about going back and like doing Hard Trick Room stuff because he loves Hard Trick Room too. And so after that, we were talking about it, and then like a week or so before NAIC, he hits me up. He goes, "Yo, dude, how you doing? What you cooking?" And I showed him this. He goes, "Oh shoot, I got something similar." And he showed me his team. And then he's just like, what's the deal with the Oranguru and the Hariyama? And I explained it to him. He's like, oh my God, I think that's perfect. So then we jumped on like a joint ladder session one night, and we went like 13-1 with it, and it felt great. And then he slapped them onto his team, and then that was the last missing pieces that got him his Worlds invite, and I believe he got a top 64 at the NAIC with it too. So I was able, and like between him and me, like Hariyama kind of have a special joint part in our hearts, because it was a major part of him getting his invite, and he brought it back to Worlds, and I think he nicknamed it after me too. So this team has a very special spot in my heart. But with that, we throw in Didi and Hatterene up to the 3 spot. The Torkoal and King Gambit move up to 2, and Oranguru Hariyama make their debut at the 1 spot. And that concludes 2023. All right, 2024 comes around. It's Pittsburgh. It's also the opening weekend of the Steelers, which was absolute mayhem in the city. And I remember Ubers being like crazy expensive because of it. But anyway, we roll up to Pittsburgh, and we brought an interesting team. We wound up going 5-4, which was really good, right? You'll see a trend here of like I become a 5-4 merchant starting now, and this was a really interesting team, and it kind of piqued my interest because it was a team that Cortex made. And I value Cortex as first off, he's like one of the nicest dudes in the entire community, but he's also one of the genius team builders. And him and the Lilypad boys just make some really cool hard trick room teams generally, or at least oppressive, like really unique teams. And this was one of them. And I was kind of floundering, and then like 2-3 days before, I'm just like, I'm going to lock in this team, but man, I need to learn it. So Cortex was so nice to me, and he taught me how to play this team. I remember being in the hotel in Pittsburgh the night before, and we're just on a call for like 2 hours, and we're just laddering together. He's just like, yeah, dude, do this, do this, do this. And then he just sent me like a long document on how to play this team. And it's a really cool, unique team. We have the Oranguru. You have the Mousehold. You have the Enamorous T, which was probably my favorite part of this team because nobody knows how much damage a Choice Specs Terra Fairy Enamorous really does. The answer, all of it. You had a min speed Choice Bandit Urshifu. It wasn't min speed, I believe. I believe it had some speed IVs. It was really weird in particular. Then you also had the Bruxish, and then you had the Ursaluna. This was Reg D, so like this was the first time, right, you get to see legendaries like the Urshifu and the Enamorous, and the first time Ursaluna, I believe, became, or at least jumped into the meta. So, a couple things with this team. There's a lot of weird parts to pick through. Terra Water, Safety Goggles, Oranguru, Psychic Construct, Encore Trick Room. I don't remember what this spread does, but I did at the time. Anyway, the glue with this team, and you can see me play this team. I did it on a recent video where I tried to take this team in Reg I and bring it all the way from no wins in Pokeball tier all the way to Master Ball tier. So you can scroll on my channel. That's a fun video if you have about 3.5 hours of your life to watch. So the glue of this team is the max defense Mousehold. It's friend guard, so like you keep Oranguru and Bruxish alive to get up the Trick Room. 99% of the time you lead Mouse plus your Trick Room setter in Oranguru or Bruxish. And you usually click follow me, but you can also click U-turn if you're not super threatened to get in your back Pokemon. So then you have a min speed Enamorous Therian, and let me tell you, here's my favorite calc from this entire thing. The Choice Specs Terra Fairy Moonblast, Instruct Terra Fairy Choice Specs Moonblast can KO a Golden Go. You heard that right. I can Moonblast, Instruct Moonblast. Because of Choice Specs and Terra Fairy, that KOs a Golden Go, whether they Terra or not. Which is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. And I got people with that, and their jaw always hit the floor. I always got a good chuckle out of it. The next thing, it was a 5 IV Urshifu, but that's because you have the sequence with that and the Ursaluna. So it set up a really interesting conga line in Trick Room where I believe it was like, if I remember correctly, it was Enamorus and then Urshifu and then Ursaluna, right? So that you can instruct all three of them, right? That's the speed order. Like Enamorus is the slowest. Urshifu is a little bit faster than Enamorus in Trick Room. And then Ursaluna is the fastest in Trick Room. But then we also have we have Power Belt Urshifu, right, to have the speed to make sure we can get down to that speed. But then you also have the Power Band having the speed of Bruxish, because Bruxish has Super Fang. So a neat thing you can do is you click Super Fang into something, have their health, and then one of the other Pokemon next to it, which is usually Enam, Urshifu, or Ursaluna, will pick up that KO. Really lethal, really, really, really cool team. Like I said, if you want to see me use this, I have videos of me using this on the channel. You just got to scroll back a little bit, especially in real time during Reg D. This was the only Reg D tournament I went to, I believe. Yeah, this was the only Reg D tournament I went to. The format never clicked with me. That's why I wanted to bring a really cool and weird team. And I did. So, with that, you'll see a Rangaroo and Mousehold move up to the 2 spot. And Enamorus, Dark Urshifu, Bruxish, and Ursaluna make their debut at the 1s. The very next event I went to was the Peoria Regionals. Fun fact, this was on my birthday. For some reason, I decided to drive to Peoria, Illinois. Not fly. I drove to Peoria, Illinois with my buddy Logan for my birthday. And oddly enough, this was first off, this is the first event of Reggie. But oddly enough, you can see this is a weird team for me. If you're following trends here, this is a very weird team for me. And that's because Ashton Cox sent me this team like a week or so before, and he's like, dude, this team is sick. I'm like, awesome. So I played a couple games. I'm like, awesome. I like it. It's cool. Let's play it. So this is the most bouncy team I think I've ever played. And this is also Reggie. So this is the debut of the DLC. So we have the Sinistcha. We have Iron Hands, Fluttermane, Kingambit, the Hisuian Arcanine, and Chien-Pao. Here's the other thing, too. I wound up going 5-4 in this event, right? Which is, honestly, for me, playing a weird team like this that's not really my style. I was still trying to figure out my style at the time. I did pretty good. I also came to find out that... I forgot I asked Ashton like maybe a day or two after. I'm like, yeah, dude, team's cool. He goes, good, man. I didn't know if it would work. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, he's like, yeah, it just seemed cool in theory. I'm like, dude, you didn't test this team, did you? He goes, no. I'm like, okay, awesome. So yeah, I got to live test this in real time for Ashton. It was a really cool team. I also got to see my buddy James Beck win the event over my other buddy Luca. Honestly, like at the time, Sinistcha, Iron Hands, Kingambit was an absolutely broken core. Absolutely broken. I love those three. I used the crap out of them. Safety Goggles Arcanine was really cool. I remember leading up to it going back and forth with Ashton about the Chien-Pao. I'm like, what do we do about the Chien-Pao? Like, as you can tell, there's no dark move. It's Spinner, Sacred Sword, and Ice Shard. I wanted priority on it, and we thought Terra Ice with Ice Shard would be cool. Mainly because, like, Sinistcha was... we were kind of afraid of Sinistcha at the time, I think. Even though, like, we have parts that can deal into it. But, like, just follow me, like, Rage Powder or kind of stuff is very annoying. So, we're like, dude, you just Terra Ice, Ice Shard, and it just kind of picks up things. So, it was really cool. And as you can see, we also have, like, the Luca Kingambit, which has popped off forever. Which is the Terra Black Glasses Kingambit with Kowtow Cleave, just like the Max kind of stuff. I don't remember what anything on this thing did for spreads, so don't ask me. But I do remember Max Defense, Max HP Sinistcha was the MVP of this team. Also, with it being my birthday, I wanted to go with an Outcast theme because I love Outcast. It's one of my favorite music acts of all time, and they're probably top 3 for me, maybe. They're definitely top 5. They're probably top 3. And, like, it's my birthday. I want to represent Atlanta and go with the music theme for Outcast. So with that, you'll see Fluttermane and Kingambit both move up. The Sinistcha, the Arcanine, and the Chien-Pao make their debut at 1. And the Iron Hands has moved into the 2 spot. The next event was almost 2 months later, 2 weeks before Christmas in San Antonio. And this was the very first event that I ever got points in. I wound up going 5-4, but I brought a really unique team, right? LAIC was in November, and this team, I believe, if I remember correctly, I know it got top 16. I think it got like 10th or 11th, and it was by Solid Calf, aka Daniel Becerra. And this was a really, really cool team, and I saw it, I'm like, holy crap, this got 10th, what the heck? And I started playing with it, I'm like, oh no, this is just OP. People don't know what this thing does. So I'm like, all right, whatever, I'm going to bring it. I'm going to have fun with it. And I did. This is probably one of the most fun teams I've ever played at an event. And it is the Indeedee, the Roaring Moon, the Armor Rouge, the Torkoal, the Bronzong, and the Ursaluna. So with this, there's a whole bunch of stuff here to take in. You have a safety goggles Indeedee. Pretty standard stuff, right? Then, if you look at the Roaring Moon is a little interesting. U-turn, Earthquake, Breaking Swipe, Tailwind. Not something you normally see, but that's because the Armor Rouge is weakness policy. So, sometimes I'd stay Terra Fire and self-Earthquake myself. I also have Endure on my Armor Rouge. So, like, if I know that I'm going to take a hit, I can at least survive one and then go Weak Armor, Weakness Policy. And then you self-Earthquake, you get the weakness policy off, and then you just Heat Wave and just blast things, right? You also have the Torque. You could also swap into the Indeedee or the Torkoal in the back to boost up your Heat Waves or boost up your Expanding Forces. You also had Stored Power, which was really sick. And, like, that thing just levels up so much, especially if you're with Terra Psychic Armor Rouge. It did so much damage. That was the other mode, too, where you Terra Psychic the Armor Rouge, self-U-turn into the Indeedee, and just rip an Expanding Force at lightning speed, and just nothing lives. It's so sick. But then there was another mode of this team, and this was the fun one for me. It's Power Bracer Bronzong with Skill Swap. So Bronzong is super slow already, right? It's already 33 base speed. Why do we need to be Power Bracer to have our speed of our min speed Bronzong? Because of Torkoal. Torkoal is the linchpin of mode B, which is the hard trick room mode. Often I would lead Indeedee Bronzong, follow me Trick Room, or just hard swap out the Indeedee and swap in either the Torkoal or the Ursaluna. But because Bronzong is now slower than the Torkoal, I have Skill Swap. So if you're going to come in and reset the rain, or set up the rain on me, or even go Prankster Rain, right? Because, like, whatchamacallit, like a Tornadus can just click Prankster Rain. I can just click Skill Swap, get the Drought back, and just launch massive Terra Fire Choice Specs Eruptions in the sun. I get the sun back. Then there was also another fun mode I had, too, where if I got the Ursaluna in next to the Bronzong, I just start launching Earthquakes and Facades like I don't care. And then Bronzong can just Iron Defense up. And they just become, like, it just becomes really oppressive. Like, you have to deal with the Ursaluna because it's doing the damage, but then Bronzong's just Iron Defensed up. And I've gotten to many endgames where they had a Rillaboom versus my Bronzong, and I would just Terra Fire the Bronzong. I'm already +2, +4 defense, and they had like high horsepower or whatever, and they just can't touch the Bronzong, and I just win. Bronzong is such a menace. I love this team. Like I said, this is the first one I ever got any kind of championship points in. I got top 256, and I went 5-4, and I left San Antonio being like, this is the greatest event ever. I was very happy with my run. And with that, you'll see Indeedee moves up to the 4th spot, starting to pull away a little bit. Torkoal moves up to the 3rd spot. Ursaluna makes a spot in the 2nd spot, but then you also have Roaring Moon and Bronzong at the 1. Armor Rouge also moved up to 3. I didn't see him there. Armor Rouge also moved up as well. My next event was a month later in Charlotte, North Carolina. As you can see, guess who returned to Hard Trick Room? This guy. With the Indeedee, the Hatterene, the Torkoal, the Ursaluna, the Gallade, and the Urshifu, the Dark Urshifu. This team was obviously inspired a lot by Brian Collins' Trick Room team, I believe, with the Gallade. That was kind of the invention of the Gallade. And there's not much to really say here. I went 4-5. I forgot what happened. I think I had a weird run. I remember there being one round where I ran into somebody who had a min speed Rillaboom, and it speed tied and it won the speed tie with my Indeedee, and I just kind of lost on the spot because they could just wood hammer and KO me. I don't remember what round that was, but that was a thing, and I hated that. Looking at it, there's nothing really cheeky here. We had the clear smog on the Torkoal, so because Dondozo, right? I hate Dondozo. I think the real big thing, it was a choice specs Urshifu, which was really cool. So you have fast Urshifu, so you can just like take something out or U-turn into your Trick Room Sweeper immediately, leading next to Indeedee. But the other part too that I think was my cooler tech to it, I believe I got the idea from Johnny Chow, was the upper hand on the Gallade. The threat of upper hand, right? You bring in the Rillaboom to reset the terrain, but it's like, cool, you want to fake me out? I will upper hand you. Like, I'm a slow Gallade. I will upper hand you, and you will flinch, and I will take you out now. Like, it was really cool. Swords Dance Ursaluna was also kind of sick. I don't think I really ever clicked it. I wasn't also that good at the time. But like, because that's one of the things is like, if you try to stall out a turn and I call a protect and get a Swords Dance off with Ursaluna, it's just game over. But that's really it. There's nothing really like too cheeky about it. The upper hand Gallade was probably the biggest thing. Gallade just became a threat with Sacred Sword, Psycho Cut, especially with Incineroar in the format. Like, Clear Amulet, Sacred Sword just OHKOs Incineroar. And if you want to tear out of it, sure, I got a bunch of other things for you. But that was Charlotte, and as you can see, Indeedee moves up a slot. Hatterene and Torkoal also move up a slot. Gallade makes an appearance at 1. Ursaluna moves up, and so does Dark Urshifu. You're probably starting to see a trend here. It'll continue. But we're going to get a little weird first. So the next team was my Knoxville Regionals team, which was a little bit less than a month later. But here's the weird thing. I wound up not going to Knoxville. Unfortunately, the day before, because I was going to drive. I live in Georgia. Like, the day before, my dog Finn, who unfortunately is epileptic, had a seizure that morning, and I decided to pull the plug and stay home, which was the right decision. I never regret it at all. But this is the team that I had ready and made, and I was super excited to show it off, especially because I got top 4 at a local the previous week with it, and it was a team built by my buddy Matt Tidd. Super cool team. It's a Rain Room team, right? So I've been bringing Torkoal this whole time, but now I have a Rain Room. Let me explain. I got a lot to explain. You've got the Bridge, the Archaludon. You've got an Araquanid. You've got the Teacup and Sinistcha. You got the Giraffe. First appearance of an Incineroar. And then you also have the Water Urshifu. So there are very specific things with this team that I'll be real with you. I honestly do not remember completely. But there are a couple little things that I do remember, and I'm going to try my best to elaborate on it. The trick with this team is that it is very much a Rain Room team. The linchpin, really, I think, with this team is the Farigiraf. As you can see, it is a min-speed Farigiraf. It is the slowest thing in Trick Room. That's because you have Araquanid, which outspeeds it too. It's a 27 IV out Araquanid. So in Trick Room, you got Rain Dance on Farigiraf, which is super cool. So it sets up its manual rain, so you can have the Araquanid and the Archaludon just start bopping and mowing through things, right? In the rain. Then you also have the Sinistcha, but look at it. It's heat proof. It's not, whatchamacallit? It's not hospitality. It's heat proof. And the Sinistcha, honestly, was probably the MVP of this team. You got Matcha Gotcha. You got Calm Mind. But that was really the big thing. It was Calm Mind Sinistcha. So, like, usually you kind of leave the Sinistcha alone, or Sinistcha clicks Rage Powder to make you hit it. This didn't. This was going to sit there and Calm Mind. And there are some matches where I got 3 or 4 Calm Minds up, and then you just can't kill the thing with Matcha Gotcha. Right? I got to hit it, but like if I hit it, I just live forever. Especially in Strength Sap, so many cool components to it. The Assault Vest Archaludon was pretty stock. Substitute Araquanid was also really sick. But the other cool thing is too, like if you stall out the Trick Room and I still have the rain up, I just bring in the Choice Scarf Rapid Strike Urshifu and just get big surging strikes into you in the rain. Incineroar is also really good, where I can just like fake out and Trick Room. or Parting Shot and Trick Room. Like this team was actually really flexible, and I really wish I got to show it off in Knoxville, but it wasn't in the cards. But it's all good. Like I said, I got top 4 at a local the week before, and I cooked some really good players with it. So like, it was really cool. It's one of my favorite teams, and man, I really wish I got to show it off. And with that, you'll see Sinister moves up to 2, and the other 5 make an appearance at 1 with Archaludon, Araquanid, Farigiraf, Incineroar, and Urshifu. I did have to wait a little bit longer. I had to wait 2 months to go to Orlando. But to date, this is probably my favorite team. We'll get to another one that's in high contention, but this team is very special to me. This is the infamous Belly Bolt team. Quick story time. Before Worlds the previous year in 2023, my buddy David Kutesh sent me some stuff. He's like, yeah, some of this stuff's cool, but like, he's like, maybe I'll bring this to Worlds. And one of the teams he had was this team, was this exact 6. We'll go over the team in a minute and the spreads and the components to it, because it's probably the most unique team on this list. And he almost brought it to Worlds, and he didn't. And then in Reg D, I was playing it. I'm like, man, this team's fun. It feels good. Cool. And then I kind of threw it by the wayside, and then I brought a version of it, a worse version of it, to at a local in Reg F in the Carolinas, and I played a buddy, and he's like, dude, this team's sick. I'm just like, yeah, it's Kutesh's team. It's kind of cool. I chopped it up a little bit. I think I made it worse, but whatever, man. So I sent him the paste, and then like a month or 2 later, I saw that he brought it to a USPA match and he won it. And he tagged me. I'm like, holy crap, dude! What did you bring? I sent him the original one. I'm just like, what did you bring? He goes, dude, I brought the original paste. It's so sick. I'm like, what? So then I tried it out in Reg F, and it was even better in Reg F. So I'm just like, all right, whatever. And then I brought it to a local the following week. I started laddering with it. It started feeling really good. Then I brought it to a local, and I won my very first local. I won my very first tournament with it. So it has a very big place in my heart. And I've kind of become the Belly Bolt guy, half by choice. But this team is, like I said, is very special to me. And it's Abomasnow, the Iron Bundle, the Belly Bolt, my little avocado, the Lando, the Heatran, and the Ting-Lu. So there are so many things to talk about with this team. Let's just start at the top. We have the Abomasnow. It's an Assault Vest mixed Abomasnow. Really freaking weird. You have Blizzard and Giga Drain, right? For special damage, you can just Blizzard spam with the Iron Bundle. You also have Giga Drain, which was really nice into the like Urshifu at the time. Ice Shard to get really cheeky pickoffs. Right, you can just pick things off with priority spam. People didn't see that coming. And then you also had Wood Hammer. So you have 68 attack in this Abomasnow. Like I said, mixed attacker. But the Wood Hammer was for Fluttermane. I believe it lets you 2-hit a Fluttermane. And Fluttermane couldn't really damage, especially if you got up the Aurora Veil. Assault Vest Abomasnow was just a problem. I didn't fully understand the potential of this team until I embraced the Abomasnow on it. I was playing the other 5 pieces too much, and then I started embracing the Abomasnow and the snow version, the snow component of the team, and that's when it really started to click, and I started to turn on the gas. Next up is the Iron Bundle. This is the weirdest Iron Bundle spread. I've had multiple people tell me that, and I'll explain it. It's not for damage. This thing is very supportive, and your main thing is to chip away. I've gotten a bunch of cheeky Blizzard freezes, but Aurora Veil is just busted as a move. You have the Abomasnow, but my favorite thing about this is that it lived, if I remember this correctly, without Aurora Veil, it lived a 116 Adamant Wood Hammer in grassy terrain from a Rillaboom. I've had people go for that, and I've lived on like 5 HP before on purpose and got off Aurora Veils. Like, this thing does stupid it just tanks things. Bulky bundle is the best bundle. I will never use another iron bundle spread. This is my favorite, maybe, but this is my favorite iron bundle spread. It did so many weird things, and it was fantastic for me. It was like I said, once I embraced the snow component, and even with the Aurora Veil, like it just became busted. Because as you'll see, I only really have one big damage dealer in Lando. The other ones are all just bulky, annoying things, and this team could just sit there and just be very annoying. We'll come back to the belly bolt in a minute. Lando, pretty stock. It wasn't max speed and it wasn't max tech. We had some bulk on it, but rock slide, stomping, U-turn, Terra Blast, Terra Flying, really freaking good. And then I guess let's talk about the Ting Lu, because the last two components are the weirdest parts. Rocky Helmet, Terra Poison, Ting Lu was so good. I would let people like surging strikes into me, and like I didn't care. Ting Lu was just fantastic on this team. Stomping Tantrum, Heavy Slam, Snarl, Ruination. He was fantastic. So now let's talk about... I'll go back to the Belly Bolt, because the Belly Bolt kind of pairs with the Ting Lu. Like, a big thing at the time was Tor and Urshifu. Tornadus and Urshifu was such a pain in the butt. And what I would do is, if you led that... Because most people... Like, if you bring a Tor and Urshifu, you probably expect me to bring the snow mode, right? Because I can just kind of Blizzard and, like, Giga Drain through that. I didn't. I brought Belly Bolt and Ting Lu. And what I would do is I would Parabolic Charge and Ruination into the Tornado spot. Right? Parabolic Charge won't take down the Tornadus, and Ruination will do half to it. But the great thing about Belly Bolt is you have to KO that Belly Bolt. They don't want to hit into the Ting Lu. Ting Lu's not threatening. They can take it at any time they feel. But this Belly Bolt is the best freaking Mon ever. Like this spread, it's on. Nerd now added it to his calculator. It's so stupid, but it takes a Terra Water, Terra Water Surging Strikes in the rain, and then you get it all right back. You KO back with Parabolic Charge, even with the Ting Lu next to you, basically almost all the time. And then you just do so much. Like this Belly Bolt just doesn't die. Between Citrus Berry and Parabolic Charge, just doesn't die. Sometimes I would also lead it with Lando. And I would, like, if I know that they're going to target down the Lando, I would self U-turn the Belly Bolt to get off the Electromorphosis and go into something else. And then just Parabolic Charge my light. Like, Belly is so good. So good. The crux of the team, too, was the Heatran. Because, like I said, this team's very annoying. If you got up Aurora Veil, this Heatran became a problem. Because, as you can see... It's Iron Defense, Heavy Slam, Body Press, Magma Storm, Heatran with max defense. I believe Ivy Cudgels with the Mold Breaker from the Fire Pond were like a 3-hit KO on Heatran without any Iron Defenses. Just stupid damage, right? Because your Flash Fire, it ignores it. But like this thing was so good. So like while you have to deal with the other thing, if I get up an Iron Defense and I trap you with Magma Storm, it's just game over. Like... I would endgame things so much with Heatran, and it was fantastic. Magma Storm was the pain in the butt because it is not accurate. It is only 75% accurate. But, as you can see, that's a trend on this team because every single Mon has an inaccurate move. Blizzard from Abomasnow, which you bring the snow, so it's not that big of a deal, but in theory. Then you have Bundle, which is also Blizzard and Hydro Pump, both inaccurate. Muddy Water on the Belly Bolt. Rock Slide on the Lando. Magma Storm on the Heatran, and then you have Snarl and Ruination on Ting Lu. So that's, I believe, 7 or 8 inaccurate moves. It happens. You're going to miss them, but like this team was so beefy that it rarely really mattered. I did go 4-5 at Orlando. I believe I started the day 2-2. I started 0-2, I think, and then I won the next 2 or something like that, and then just had I just kind of bombed out. It kind of fizzled as it went. But this team was so much fun. I love it to death. Like, even though it didn't have the best showing at Orlando, it still has the biggest place in my heart because of my local win. And like doing it with Belly Bolt too, man, I just got weird bragging rights and I became kind of the Belly Bolt guy. It became just a thing. But as you can see, Ting Lu jumps up to the 2 spot, and the other 5, Abomasnow, Bundle, Belly, Lando, and Heatran all make an appearance at the 1 spot. All right, and now comes the last tournament of 2024, which was the North American Regional Championships. This was 2 months later, this time in New Orleans. Last time it was in Ohio. New Orleans, way more fun than Ohio. Go figure. But this team is a very weird team, right? We're in Reg G now. This is the first. This is the first big tournament in Reg G, which would eventually be the World's format. And this was the team that my buddy Zach Thornburg brought to LA. And ironically enough, Jeremy Rodriguez also brought it to LA. And basically like 2-3 weeks before NAIC, I'm just like, dude, I don't know what to play. Nothing feels good. I'm dying over here. I can't play anything. And I made this team in game for Jeremy Rodriguez. I believe other than the Chi Yu and the Chen Pao, because those were his, I made the other 4 in game for him. And I'm like, here you go. Here's your LA team, bro. And then right before NAIC, I hit up Jeremy. I'm like, hey, I think I'm just going to bring that team. Like, I have nothing that feels good. I don't have time to do anything. Send me those Pokemon back. So he sent me those. I made the other ones. And I brought this team. And it's a weird team because that's what Zach Thornburg does. But it is the Chi Yu, the Talonflame, the Screamtail, of course, because that's Zach Thornburg's signature boy right there. Pablo, which was the Zamazenta, and then Chen Pao and Rillaboom. For the record, I named these Pokemon before Kanye went full Nazi, or before he went any Nazi. He was just still a crazy person. So don't get mad at me in the comments. I didn't know he would do swastika stuff. My bad. I would love to talk about the spreads of this team. I don't know them as well. Like I said, I did not do well. I went 3-4, and I just didn't finish the last round or two because I was not feeling it. It was not good. I remember, I think I started the day 2-0, and then it just all went downhill from there. I made some very bad, weird plays. There's a lot of things I don't know about on this team. This is the only team, I think, probably on this list that has protects on all 6 Pokemon, which is really cool. But I just didn't know Screamtail, Encore, Disable shenanigans enough, and like Zamazenta, Chen Pao stuff enough. It isn't my fault. It's a good team. It's a weird team, but it's a good team, and it's not my thing, man. It was a bad taste. It left a bad taste in my mouth leaving after NAIC, and I felt like crap. And I'm like, dang it. All right, next year, I'm going to commit to something. Like, I'm going to level up my game and commit to whatever it is that I'm doing. And I'm going to go all in. So that's how we ended 2024. As you can see, Chen Pao and Chi Yu jumped up to the 2 spot, and the other 4 in Talonflame, Screamtail, Zamazenta, and Rillaboom all make an appearance at the 1 spot. Now on to 2025. Now we're at 2025, the current year, and honestly, they gave us the best format of all time, in my opinion, which was Reg H. They did away with all the legendaries, they did away with all the broken Pokemon, and it just felt so good. And that's when I knew, I'm just like, all right, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to commit. I'm going to commit right now to playing Hard Trick Room the entire year. No matter what, I'm going to commit to it. I'm going to become the best Hard Trick Room player in America. So I started out here with this team. And this team is interesting. It was inspired by Bravado VGC, homie of mine, fantastic Australian player, Hard Trick Room enthusiast. And he popularized this a few weeks before Baltimore with the Hisuian Zoroark. And I wound up going 4-4 in Baltimore. I wound up losing my last round to basically the exact mirror. They had the Hisuian, there was Hard Trick Room with Hisuian Zoroark, and they Zoroarked me. Sure. I lost to 2 Zoroarks that day, actually. I in my mind, I made a gentleman's agreement that I wasn't going to bring the Zoroark, but they did. So that's on me. But anyway, here's the team. Indeedee, the Hatterene, the Torkoal, the Gallade, the Bear in Ursaluna, and of course, the Hisuian Zoroark. And this was really cool because this is one I caught on my playthrough on whatchamacallit, and it turns out it had like 3 attack IVs. So I'm like, perfect. I have a shiny with 3 attack IVs. Yeah, I'm using it because look at it. It's just the sickest shiny. It's a sick shiny. It's up there. It's so moody. It's so angsty, but it's so sick. So there's not really much to talk about here. It was Terra Dragon and Indeedee, right, with Psychic Seed because I love Psychic Seed. But Terra Dragon was nice because Rillaboom and Incineroar are everywhere because of course they are. I went Terra Steel on Hatterene because of Golden Go, specifically, I believe. just a good little Charcoal Torkoal. I have Clear Smog before the Dondozo stuff because, God, I hate Dondozo. Life Orb Gallade was actually really saucy here. And I'll tell you why I went Life Orb Gallade. Because it pairs really well with the Zoroark. Because they're going to get down and Intimidate on you, and they'll be like, oh, that's the Zoroark because it got the Intimidate down, right? But if they see that they Intimidate, or the Intimidate doesn't go through, because Clear Amulet prevented it, they know it's not the Zoroark. Right? That's kind of the same thing I did with Hatterene too, where I'm Covert Cloak, so you can't fake me out. And also Covert Cloak Hatterene was fantastic too for Rillabooms. Because Fake Out's so annoying in Trick Room. But Life Orb, I realized you don't miss, as long as you don't get a second Intimidate on Gallade, you don't miss KOs. I was also a faster Gallade, so I could lead it next to Indeedee and surprise Incineroars outside of Trick Room. I would just go for a Sacred Sword turn 1. They drop. I get off a free Trick Room because I'm faster than Incineroars. Ursaluna, really stock other than Substitute, which is always nice because if you want to stall out a Trick Room with Protects and stuff and I call a Substitute, goodbye. And then choice specs, just Terra Normal, Zoroark was just so sick. You'd lead it as the Gallade or as the Hatterene, and you just rip just massive hyper voices. You just Helping Hand Terra Normal hyper voice, and this like things drop, and it just sets you up for really good board states late in the game, right? So that's really the team there. Like I said, I wound up playing 2 other Zoroarks that tournament, and it was kind of annoying. I didn't like it because Zoroark's a pain in the butt. But that pain in the butt Zoroark now jumps onto the list. Gallade moves up to 2. Ursaluna moves up to 4, and obviously Indeedee, Hatterene, Torkoal start running away with this thing. I wonder what's going to be number 1. Probably Indeedee. Next up was the Louisville Regional. I wound up driving again, this time with a bunch of friends. This was kind of the turning point, I think, of my season. I went 5-3. I had my best result yet, really. Right, I got top 256. I went positive. I actually got a pair down instead of for the last round, but and I won my pair down. But I brought a really interesting team. This was made popular by Ben Grismer, which is one of my favorite players. I was bugging him and talking to him about it for a while because I believe he brought this to Louisville or something similar to Louisville. He wound up switching off the Basque Legion for a Dragapult, but in my testing, I found out how much I love Basque Legion more than Dragapult. It just felt more natural to me, so I stuck with it. And this one is the male Indeedee, the Delphox, the Whimsicott, the Sneasler, who is the terror of Reg H, the Basque Legion, and of course, the Mousehold. So a couple of different things. Like, this is a hyper offense, size spam, fast team. Not, based on what you've seen, not really my style. I've dabbled in a little bit of like balance stuff, but mainly it's all been hard Trick Room. Now I'm trying to subvert my own expectations, and I actually get one of my best results, which was really, really, really cool and really, really invigorating, honestly. Like, I'm just like, okay, cool, I can do it. I can do this. And let's just go over a couple different things here. Psychic Seed Sneasler, such a pain in the butt, right? But you have the three moves, Terra Dark, so you can hit Golden Goes with the Throat Chop, get big damage off. Then you have the Delphox. So a lot of people were playing the Delphox with, I believe, Flamethrower over Dazzling Gleam and going like Terra Fire or something. I went Terra Fairy on Delphox because I believe at the time, if I remember this correctly, like Garchomp stuff was a pain in the butt. And I realized that it got Dazzling Gleam, and with Life Orb, Terra Fairy, essentially I had a Hatterene and Armarouge all in one with Expanding Force, Heat Wave, Dazzling Gleam. Granted, Delphox hates to see a Wide Guard, but it did so much damage. Delphox was so good. Then you also have the Basque Legion. It was max speed. Fun fact, if you put the 4 in defense on Basque Legion, you have better rolls to live a Grassy Glide. Basically, it's like 18% you die from it or something. But it was the Choice Scarf Terra Grass Basque Legion with Terra Blast, which was really nice to pick off Primarinas when they weren't expecting it. I'd often bring Basque Legion at the very end and just lock into late game Last Respects, which was one of my favorite things to do. I take 2 or 3 KOs and then I just Last Respects things down. And this Basque Legion just sweeps. Whimsicott, really standard with Tailwind Moonblast. But then you have Helping Hand and Sunny Day. Sunny Day was awesome to power up the Delphox, and also really good to get rid of the rain stuff, because Pelipper was a pain in the butt, if I remember correctly. Hate Pelipper. And then you just have Helping Hand, right? So like you can just lead like Indeedee, Delphox, and then you bring in the Whimsicott once Indeedee goes down, and then you just Sunny Day or Helping Hand, Expanding Force, Heat Wave, and this thing's drop. It was so much fun. You also had the Focus Sash Indeedee, which was Expanding Force, Terra Blast, Terra Fighting. That was specifically for our Chalodons. And also Incineroars. It was a really good way to hit Incineroars as well. Imprison Trick Room to shut down hard Trick Room teams. Male Indeedee was just a threat, man. Like, this thing actually freaking hurts. 105 special attack with Expanding Force is still really good damage. Really, really good damage. Especially, like, there's nothing better than just clicking double Expanding Force and winning a game. Then the last Pokemon is Maushold, which was a really fun part of this team. I remember there was one match where I hit only 2 population bombs, and then everything else I hit everything I needed. But other than that, like, Pop Bomb Maushold was just a pain in the butt. And also, I needed redirection. I needed the offensive threat of Male Indeedee, but also I needed a Follow Me Mon, and Maushold just does it, especially with Taunt. Maushold was so good. Maushold was so freaking good. Once again, shout out to Ben Grismer for the team. I love this team, and it kind of introduced me to the world of like hyper offense, which, as you'll see, makes a fun return with Ben Grismer. But with that, Maushold jumps up to 3, and everybody else makes an appearance down in 1 with Male Indeedee at the bottom and Female Indeedee up top. Delphox joining the ones as well, Whimsicott, Sneasler, and the Basque Legion. 2 months later, I go up to Toronto, Canada. First time being out of the United States. I was super excited. It was freaking cold. It was like 5 degrees the whole weekend, and I froze to death. But with that, I wanted to bring Hard Trick Room one last time because we knew Reg G was coming back. I was very sad. I cried the entire time. My tears froze to my face. But I knew that I have to bring Hard Trick Room. This is probably my last hurrah with Indeedee Hatterene, which is my favorite thing to do. So I brought Brian Collins' team that he brought to, I believe, Sacramento, like a couple weeks before. I can't remember exactly what it was, but Brian Collins was playing this Hard Trick Room team basically the whole time. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to bring his team. And I worked a little bit with Brian Collins. I probably annoyed the absolute crap out of him, picking his brain for it. But here's the team I brought. I brought the Indeedee because, of course. Also, I brought a Hatterene, but this was really cool. I wanted this to be special because it's my last hurrah with Hatterene, my love. And I shiny hunted for a no good speed and attack. Not shiny hunted. I Masuted for a no good speed and attack shiny Hatterene for this event specifically because I wanted it to be special. I got the Torkoal. I got the Gallade. I got the Big Bear Ursaluna. And then I got the Maushold. Because of course I have Maushold. Double redirection is always nice too. But let's dig into this team because there's a couple different little things about this team that are really, really special about it. The first one being the Covert Cloak Hatterene with Terra Fire. But instead of having Mystical Fire, I had Terra Blast. This was so clutch because Mystical Fire doesn't always KO Golden Goes, but Terra Fire, Terra Blast pretty much does. Which was a really cool thing Brian brought to the table. That was really cool tech that he got me in on. And Covert Cloak Hatterene was fantastic. Most people go Life Orb. I probably should have gone. No, I don't regret Covert Cloak because it gave me a lot of different leads. I could lead Maushold Hatterene. I didn't always have to do it. Plus, like I said, like Rillaboom's a pain in the butt in Trick Room where they can just fake you out, and so is Incineroar. Like, you just can't do that to Covert Cloak Hatterene. So, like, I would get in scenarios where I'd have Covert Cloak Hatterene in next to Ursaluna, and then they bring in Incineroar or Rillaboom, and I would Terra Ghost the Ursaluna, and you just can't fake either out, and I can just blast you. And it was fantastic. The Ursaluna, pretty stock, nothing special here. Facade Earthquake, Headlong Rush, Protect. Terra Ghost, Big Bear does a lot of damage. Torkoal, Choice Specs, right? This became the Choice Spec standard set with 3 fire moves and Earth Power, One fire move being Weather Ball. There were some turns where I would call a swap into Pelipper, and I would lock in a Weather Ball into an Incineroar, knowing it's about to be a water move and KOing Incineroar. And that was so much fun. Gallade was also really nice. Right? Also for Incineroar stuff, Sacred Sword, Psycho Cut. Right? That's kind of Brian Collins' signature mon, I feel. And then you also had the Wide Lens, Mouse Hold, Pop Bomb, Taunt, always solid. That was very, very important for the matchup into the Carson Confer Blood Moon stuff. I was supposed to go to Sacramento, and I locked in like the same team that Carson Confer wound up winning with, and I just wound up chickening out. I didn't feel good at the time. I don't remember what it was. I think it was mentally I didn't feel so good, and I didn't feel super confident, and the flight was expensive. And I wound up canceling the flight, got my money back in Delta points or Delta cash or whatever that I wound up flipping to Europe. So that wasn't too bad, but I could have gone and done well. But I needed a little mental break, I think. And it was the right move. But Mouse Hold is super important there. I wound up winning a cup with this team. I wound up just bodying locals with this team for a while. If I'm feeling cheesy, I might throw in one of my favorite clips of me winning a local with it, where I led Indeedee and Gallade, and they led Amoonguss something else, and I knew they were going to spore the Indeedee, so I swap into Hatterene, and I Terra Grass the Gallade, they Terra Fairy their Amoonguss, and I bounce back the Spore and won on the spot. One of my all-time favorite clips. But yeah, that's the Toronto team. I mean, this is like the culmination of hard Trick Room teams for me, and I just felt so good and felt so right to play like hard Trick Room size spam stuff one last time, and I love Reg H. Going 5-3 in Toronto, being up there with a bunch of my friends, like it was such a good time. It was being out of the country for the first time, even though I froze my butt off. Like, it was awesome. I love that event so much, and shout out to Brian Collins for the team. This was very, very cool. Of course, Indeedee, Hatterene, Torkoal, Ursaluna, Mousehold, and Gallade all jump up one rung. This is obviously a common thread here. Hard Trick Room guy does hard Trick Room things. Big shock. Whoop-de-doo. Now, a month later, we're back in San Antonio, back in the place that got me my first points. And we're back in Reg G. I didn't want to go back to Reg G, but then I was sitting there, I'm thinking, I'm like, man, what was that one cool hard Trick Room team from NAIC? And it was the Alex Underhill team, right? With the Scarf Annihilate and the coaching and the Smeargle and like the slow Ursaluna stuff and the Electabuzz. I'm like, damn, that team was cool. So I wound up reaching out to Alex Underhill, and we started working together basically for like 2-3 months with the team. And he's just like, man, it's like, dude, the team is cool, but you got to let it go. It's not that good. I'm like, dude, I think it's good. I feels good to me. Please help me. So he's like, okay, fine, I will. And so I wound up bringing it to San Antonio, and I wound up getting my best result ever. I got top 128. I actually got 128th. I bubbled into the 128 spot with it, which was really, really cool. And here it is. Glacier is here because I'm not going to join him with the Calyrex. I don't want to do that. I'm using another Calyrex right now. So pretend this horse has a rider, okay? But it's the Smeargle, the Calyrex Ice Rider. That's a no rider one, but you know what I mean. The Big Bear, Ursaluna Blood Moon. We got the Annihilate. We got the Farigiraf. And we got the Electabuzz. Now, I'm going to talk about this a little bit at the same time as EUIC because there's a Farigiraf here, but also all I did was change my Farigirafs for EUIC. And I'll explain why. Because this is also the EUIC team I took to London a month later and got top 256 with it. And honestly, with both of these teams, I also lost my first time getting a win in. I went 5-3 both events. I lost my round 8 both times to disconnects. In San Antonio, I was like 4 turns deep doing my thing in Trick Room in an advantageous situation, and then we disconnected and we had a restart, and I was tilted as crap, and I just lost. In Europe, turn 1, they terra'd, I think, an Ogerpon, and halfway through the Ogerpon animation, it disconnected, and I'm like, oh great, here we go again. I had like PTSD, and then so they're like, all right, redo it. Game 2 or game 1 again, I terra'd, I think, my Cali, and then it also disconnected. And same thing during the animation when I did it again. I'm like, okay, and I was just shook. I won game 1 and then just like bombed out game 2 and 3. So that it was unfortunate, but man, I felt really good with this team. It's very special to me. I love it so much. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about these different Farigirafs, because if I basically talk about San Antonio, I basically have to talk about EUIC, because literally nothing changed. The Cali Ice stayed the same. The Ursaluna stayed the same. The Smeargle stayed the same. The Annihilate, I believe, stayed the same. And the Electabuzz stayed the same. The biggest thing is the Farigiraf. But the whole crux of this team is that usually you like Smeargle, and you go fake out Cali, or you go fake out plus Cali, you go fake out Trick Room. And then you have your Smeargle is the slowest thing in Trick Room, so you can decorate your Calyrex and your Blood Moon and just get off big old decorates and just stupid damage with Glacial Lance and Blood Moon and Hyper Voice. Farigiraf was important, obviously, for the the priority blocking and stuff. Electabuzz was just the star. You had Feint, so you can break Wide Guard, because Wide Guard is this team's like nemesis. I often would lead like game 1 like Annihilate Cali, and then game 2 I would lead Smeargle Cali. Right, I gotta scare them off the Annihilate, but I would either Final Gambit or go coaching and just like start bodying things. It was so much fun. This was one of the most fun teams. I know I've said that a couple times, but this is up there. So San Antonio passes, right? I got 128th. We bring it to London a month later, and the only thing that changes is the Smeargle. No, not the Smeargle, the Farigiraf. So in San Antonio, I had a problem with Kyogre. My team wasn't good into Kyogre. It was just like a natural kind of thing. So going into London, I'm just like, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do. So I kept the Terra Water, I believe, on Farigiraf. I believe both of them are Terra Water, if I remember correctly, right? They're both Terra Water. But I have a more offensive Farigiraf in London with Grass Knot, which was really cool. And it was also Terra Water with Terra Blast. So you can, if they bring in an Incineroar, you just, and they give you the rain, they just die to the rain. It was really, really cool. Alex Soto, Len VGC, helped me with this Farigiraf thing. That was kind of his idea to go more offensive with it. Everything else literally stayed the same. And the team operated the exact same. Had a ball in London. It's my favorite, I think, event. Yeah, it's obvious. It's my favorite travel. It's my favorite event I've ever been to. I want to live in London. It was awesome. It was fantastic. I just belong there. Also, another cool thing about it was this Annihilate was 180 HP, not the max HP like most Scarf Annihilate is, but that's because 180 HP EVs on an Annihilate can KO every single every single relevant restricted except for Terrapagos if it terras. But it also lets you free up 76 attack, which lets your close combats hit a little bit harder. That came into a game in what was it, maybe round 6 or 7. I got into a match against a Terrapagos team, and I only had Annihilate left, and they only had Terra Starstorm, but they terrored something else. And then I was just able to punch through the Urshifu Dark they had with my Annihilate with close combat, and then they just couldn't touch me because I was ghost type. So this was my favorite Annihilate spread. I hope I get to use it again sometime on something similar. This was an awesome team, an awesome bring, 2 fantastic events back to back. And at this time, leaving London, I'm just like, holy crap, I can actually make a Worlds like run. I'm feeling really good about it. After London, I had this thirst in my mouth. I'm just like, man, I just crushed it. I feel so good. But now I got to wait 2 months almost for the Atlanta Regional, which is my hometown regional. I live about an hour away from Atlanta. And I knew what I was playing. But like after London, that team just felt bad again. Or just felt bad in general. The rise of fast size spam and like Lunala stuff made it feel really, really bad for me. And I experimented with Terra Dark, Throat Chop, Annihilate, but like there was not really a fix. So I decided to ditch the team. And I decided to go with the team that Brian Collins was using at the time, and then Michael Derbesti got from Brian Collins and wound up winning a European event with, which was this Hard Trick Room team that I brought to Atlanta. Going 5-3 in Atlanta, I really wanted it to be my first. I wanted UIC as a first day 2 would have been so sick. I was so close. I got my last 2 events were both win-and-ins. So I'm like, all right, it wasn't meant to be in Europe, but it's meant to be in Atlanta. I'm home. I'm like literally all my friends are here. This is going to be my first day 2. And I wound up going 5-3. Fell short of the win-and-in. Had some weird matchups throughout the day. And this team was also heavily indexed on since Michel Kelch won the event 2 weeks prior with the team. So it was definitely heavily indexed for. I'm going to do the same thing where the Glacier is actually a Calyrex because I'm not doing the thing. Anyway, the team is Smeargle, Glacier, Calyrex Ice Rider, Torkoal, Urshifu Dark, the Indeedee, and the Raging Bolt. Really, really cool team. I mean, there's been a billion things said about this team since it was so popular and Kelch did a thing. I did change some things a little bit. I went with a min speed Raging Bolt, or as min speed as it can get, where it's no investment and it's quiet nature. Cali was very standard, where I'm just like, I want all the power. I believe Kelch's was pretty Spadef invested. I was like, no, I want all the power. I just want to hit things, hit them hard. Indeedee, I stayed with Psychic Seed Dragon, which is what Brian Collins was using. Kelch changed it to Rocky Helmet Terra Fairy, if I remember correctly, which I was debating about like literally the day before. I'm just like up to the day before. I'm just like, all right, I'm locking in Psychic Seed Dragon. I like Psychic Seed. Choice specs, Torkoal, nothing special. Choice banded, min speed, Terra Grass, Urshifu, just nasty work. And just the fast Smeargle to be a little pain in the butt. Smeargle does what Smeargle does. This time it's Technician. I took Kelch's advice, so you have a little bit better fake outs that keep certain things under grassy terrain. But yeah, I wound up going 5-3 in Atlanta. Either way, I had a great time with my friends. I got to show some people my hometown. It was really awesome. So, but with that, we add them to the pile. Indeedee moves up to 8. Torkoal 7. Hatterene stays at 6, but there's an Annihilate now at 4. And then the Urshifu, the Cali Ice, and the Smeargle all make up to 3. My next event wound up becoming my worst event. Milwaukee is somehow like a death trap for me because my very first year, I went like 3-5. Then the next season, I went like 2-4 or 2-4 with it and dropped. And then I now went 1-4 in Milwaukee. But honestly, I wasn't gelling with Reg Eye. Hard Trick Room became almost impossible to play, in my opinion. And I cobbled together this team last second, hoping for the best. I also had a lot of back pain that day, and it just was really painful to sit in those chairs and just be there for hours under the lights. So I wound up dropping at 1-4. Because honestly, if I had to go 5-3 with good res to get points from the event. So once I went like 1-4, I'm just like, all right, it's not happening. It is what it is. But anyway, here's the team. We got the Smeargle again. We got the Cali Ice. I was having a problem with like a Moongus and Brute Bonnet, and I realized that Enamorous T is just nasty. So I slapped an Enamorous T on the team. Honestly, it was probably the MVP of the week. or of the run. Even though I had a crap run, it still did fantastic. I just literally used the same one I used from Pittsburgh previously. I don't have another one. Like, I'm just going to use that one again. That's the first time I actually used a Pokemon from a previous event on a different team, which is why the nicknames don't really make sense. Then I recycled the same Urshifu I had in Atlanta. The Indeedee was this time Terra Fairy Rocky Helmet instead of the one in Atlanta. And then I went with Palkia. Palkia was the interesting one. Nobody else was really using Palkia other than Tapu Wapo. And I took some inspiration from him at the time, but I also gave it my own spin where if you can tell, I had Torkoal on the team for a while, and I didn't want to have Hydro Pump because the sun, I'm like, oh, I have it in the sun. That kind of sucks. So I went no Hydro Pump Palkia. And I wound up sticking because I'm like, I don't want to miss a move. I have Spatial Rend, which is already, 95% accurate. I'm like, that's fine. I don't mind missing Spatial Rends. 95% accurate is no big deal. But I don't want to miss Hydro Pumps. So I had that. I put Earth Power and I put Thunderbolt on there. Thunderbolt for like Pelipper and like rain stuff. Earth Power also was really solid into Incineroar, where Palkia is just normally pretty fast. So I would like turn one, I could just like fake out and Earth Power and Incineroar with Smeargle. It was really cool. This team is actually really cool. I wish I could have done it more justice, but I didn't. But it's all good. It happens. Also, I have kind of messed up the graphic with all the ranking of the lists and stuff of where things go. I've lost all hope, but I will update you at the end because I have the final standings. This leads us to my NAIC team. Honestly, so I've said it a couple times, but this one just feels special to me altogether. Because I needed a top 32 to get my Worlds invite, and I knew it was very hard and basically out of reach. But man, I really went for it. I got my best result to date. I got I've got top 128. I got 114. I got my very first day 2, and this team is very special. I got to build this with Ashton Cox primarily, but we also had a bunch of people in our team building group, including Brian Collins and Ben Grismer, as well as like my buddy Colin, Chris, Peter. My buddy Rowan, who flaked on the team last second, but I don't fault him for that. Don't be mean to him in the comments. He's a good dude, and it was justified, and I knew he was going to do it. But anyway, this is a fun team, and I know it's making its rounds right now, and I'm sorry ahead of time. It is the summer of Smeargle. I'm sorry that we had a hand in it, but this team is so much fun. And I wound up finishing 8-4 in New Orleans again with it, and now I get to sit for like 2-3 months wanting to play again and go at it again after having my best result, and just I've got such good drive and just like taste in my mouth, and I'm like, man, I just want to keep going and I just can't keep going. But anyway, here's the team: Cali Shadow, Terapagos, Chi-Yu, Smeargle, Whimsicott, and Iron Hands. Now let me brag about something for a second, because this is one of my favorite little tidbits about this team. This Cali Shadow has made it so far without me. I got bored one day and I played through a copy of... I needed to get a 0 attack Cali Shadow. So I played through a copy of, whatchamacallit, Sword and Shield to get this under the trainer named Dua Lipa, because I thought it'd be hilarious, because I wanted a 0 attack Cali, and it took me like maybe 4 hours of soft resetting, and I finally got it. So, but I've let so many people use this Cali Shadow without ever touching it myself. Ashton Cox brought it to Worlds the previous year. My buddy Zach Minnick has brought it to like 3 or 4 different events. I'm pretty sure this thing has 1,000 championship points over the past like calendar year, which is absolutely insane. And now I got to add to it and finally give it my proper input. I finally got to add to this thing. I finally got to add to its legacy. Also, fun fact: no, come back to Terapagos. No, why did I remove you? Go back. Obviously, I have a whole Dua Lipa theme, but it's funny, and I did it on purpose because I also played through a copy of Sword and Scarlet and Violet under the name Dua Lipa, and I got both of these from there too. So this is also Dua Lipa's Terapagos and Dua Lipa's Chi-Yu. So naturally, I had to go with the future nostalgia nickname theme to it. And it became, like I said, it's one of my favorite teams. It's my favorite. It's now my favorite team. It's just super, super special to me. And I appreciate everybody who helped me work on the team and all the love we've been getting about the team. And we've touched on this stuff. I have a team report on my channel. You can scroll back a little bit. We've talked about it, but like, the quick general gist of the team is like Smeargle Pagos was broken. We all know Pagos Shadow Rider is a good combo. Shadow Rider Chi-Yu is a good combo. So like we kind of just combined all the things together. Also, Terapagos sucks. It's not a good restricted, but Choice Specs Terapagos is actually fantastic. This thing actually does so much damage. And if you get a decorate off, it does even more damage. It's so good. So here is the general thing, right? Your leads are usually like Smeargle, Pagos, Smeargle, Cali, Shadow. You could also go like Chi-Yu, Cali. You could also go Whimsicott, Cali, Whimsicott, Pagos. You have so many different variables here. Iron Hands is so good into Trick Room stuff, into Ice Horse stuff. The Iron Hand spread. We go over all of it in the team breakdown, but like I wanted something offensive that could also live 3 body presses, or has a favorable roll to live 3 body presses from Zamazenta. That's what the Iron Hands does. Shout out to my boy Edu for the spread on that. He crushed it. It was so good. Also shout out to Yotam and Zach for helping out with this team too, and Scrawl. Like they had some input. They were in on the group and they decided to go different directions for it, which I kind of knew they would, but like they also had some insightful input on it. Moody Smeargle is just busted. You get 1 speed boost and it's probably game over. Whimsicott with Encore and Fake Tears just to be a little pest. Since the whole team is basically special, Fake Tears, just getting the drop on Spadef, it just really empowers the whole team and just it just kind of drives the engine and just lets things snowball really, 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 really fast. The last things we kind of were going... the last things we were kind of debating was if it's Fake Tears or Sunny Day on Whimsicott, because Kyogre was a little bit annoying. And then we also had Ruination over Dark Pulse on Chi-Yu, but we decided last second to go Fake Tears and Dark Pulse, and I believe it was the correct decision. I never really clicked Ruination too much with Chi-Yu, and I'd never actually, when we in testing, and honestly, I never clicked Dark Pulse with Chi-Yu when I was at NAIC. I clicked the other 3 moves, and Chi-Yu only missed 1 Heat Wave target all NAIC. He hit every single Snarl, every single Overheat. He was fantastic. This fish, my fish is not blind, and I am so proud of him. But yeah, that's really it. There's not, like I said, there's a whole team report with me and Ashton going over it. We've kind of done it ad nauseum by now, but this team is so special to me. So I definitely suggest if you're interested in playing it right now or bringing it to Worlds, check out that team report. You can hit me up or hit up Ashton. We'll talk about it too. But yeah, this team, once again, shout out to the Paint Turtle squad. This was an awesome experience working with people. This is the first time I really worked with a group too. Everything else has really been working with one person or nobody. So this was the first time I worked with a group of multiple people, and I got my best result yet. And we kind of crushed it. We had 4 of like the 7 of us make day 2, and then the 2 other people who found our team on ladder also made day 2. So really good conversion with the team. It's super lethal, super hyper offense, and I'm so fond of it. I'm very happy with this one. So here's the final standings of how my list looks. Let me know if there's any surprises on here. There probably are. I mean, there's definitely a couple for me, especially Dondozo. But yeah, that's the list of every Pokemon I've ever taken to an event in Scarlet and Violet. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. I'm trying something a little bit new. I really wanted to reflect on the season, basically because it's been an amazing season for me, but I decided to take it all the way back to show the progression and how far I've actually come. So I definitely appreciate it. If you watch this far, go ahead and do the YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe. Definitely appreciate all kinds of support. But anyway, we'll see you guys on the next one. Y'all take care. Peace.